All right, how am I going to do a quick little bunker thing for you and maybe for everyone else as well. You know, just in terms of how to set up to it and kind of get the basics of kind of a basic bunker stroke. So, we have Howie here on the left and Howie on the right. So before and after. All right, so notice here, Howie's set up here is that his weight was pretty much 50-50 on the left-hand side. Ball was back and he wasn't kind of presetting himself up so for a decent impact and just in terms of where he want the club to bottom out. All right, so I did a couple things here. I had Howie, he likes kind of a little bit more of an open stance, but not crazy amount. It's pretty neutral and square. And we kind of set him up to where he's putting his weight more on his front foot. Center of gravity is more that way with a touch more knee flex, a little wider stance, with the ball more in the middle to maybe slightly more forward than that. And you also feel like the hand is a little bit more neutral. All right, so the main thing with Howie as he came in, he was really kind of struggling with more, you know, you were struggling with more of hanging back and just kind of not really using so much upper body and really just kind of relying on kind of like holding the club through and not trying to release it and hitting behind it a bunch and just kind of really struggling with the shot. So you can kind of see there, not a lot of rotation and just kind of armsy and just flicking it through basically. Okay, so I guess it kind of looks awkward and doesn't look the greatest, right? So again, what we kind of worked on here is that we wanted to see more of kind of some what we see what some better players do through the bunker. Right, so we use kind of Ricky as an example just to kind of give you the idea. All right, so you see Ricky here on the left, right? We can see that he has a lot more flexed forward. Hands are nice and neutral, right? And we were kind of getting the idea of how the lower body really doesn't do too much in the bunker swing and how the lower body is just kind of positioned forward with knee flex and the upper body is doing most of the work, right? So we talked about how in, full swing shots it goes, knees, hips, trunk, arms, club, or knees, hip, arm, whatever, knees, hips, arms, club, trunk, yada, yada, yada. That's the syncing up part. Where in bunker shots, we measure that it's actually club head, hands, arms, trunk, and the body does nothing. So it's a reversed order, so we start getting some speed, but we can try and swing fast and maintain some, basic, let's say, softness to the stroke as well when doing that. We're not trying to create huge amounts of speed, but in a simple way, the lower body does nothing, and it's kind of a more of an upper body dominant motion. Right, so what we were doing here, we kind of really focused on having the left shoulder work more down on the backstroke with the wrist hinge, right? Feeling like the left shoulder works down, right? Maybe too big of a swing, but again, well, you got the basic motions there. We like maybe see a little bit shorter than that, but not too bad, right? Maintain some more width to that, which would obviously be that way. We're always trying to work on that for you. Right, but as we start coming down, that left shoulder kind of staying down, and the lower body not doing too much and trying to really get that trunk going through. Right, so you can see you're doing a much better job with that. Now, we still want to make sure we're not getting that right foot rolling so much and doing all that, but because you have a little bit of range of motion problems, it's not bad. But again, the model here would be Ricky staying here, left shoulder stays down, and just watch how much that trunk fires through the shot. Right, chest is now facing left, and the arms are kind of rehinging fast, and just how much that, his weight's still kind of pressed, and even going more forward, and how his knees maintain some flex. And look here, I can see his belt, but I can't see his chest. Right, so his upper body is rotating way more than his hips. We still kind of see you going through, and they're kind of rotating the same amount. But again, range of motion stuff, as long as we're getting the chest of fire boom through that shot like you're doing here, and at least kind of having a little bit knee flex at this point, and we're looking a little bit like this, I'll be pretty happy, right? Because that's a heck of a lot different than what you came in doing, which is what we're trying to do, right? Actually make some changes and get better, right? So again, you walked in where it was more the opposite, weren't really using anything, right, and really just kind of flicking at it with your arms and wrist. Right, so here's the difference post-impact. Okay, I'll see here, you can see the difference. But remember, we're trying to just do a couple things here. We're making sure we're getting our weight more towards our front foot and make it stationary, getting the chunks to rotate, and we're trying to get that bounce of the club exposed. right? So the simple way to view that is that where we have this club at address, we want to return that to either the same amount, same angle there, coming to the ball, maybe a little forward, or if anything, you feel like it's backing up, right? So if we start having that club too far forward there, we're going to hit fat shots and yada, 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 some things that way. This is why I suggested you having that ball more forward, but maybe feeling like the handle was a little bit more back, right? But it wasn't necessarily feeling too comfy yet, but that's something I want you to strive towards. All right, bud, so keep it pretty simple. And for everyone else there too, have the weight kind of preset forward, making sure that the upper body is doing more than the lower body, and trying to return that shaft angle back to the same, say same field address shot that you were on the at setup to impact. This is just kind of a basic thing that all good players do. So this camera's gonna be moving around a little bit. So there's a tree, that's pretty stationary. Let's say that ping logo is pretty stationary. So you get the idea of how much it's moving. So you can see it's moving a little bit more forward. All right, so you can see Webb, and pretty neutral. Hands are a little ahead there. Again, pretty neutral going through. Charles Howell. All right, hands are a little ahead, pretty vertical. Let's go with Ricky again. Kind of the technique I really like is Ricky's. Looking at his again. Again, coming through pretty vertical. All right, hope that makes sense, and then let me know if it helps out.